Okay, since that neo soul video did so good, I figured I'd make another video around another subgenre of R&B that I really enjoy called alternative R&B. Alternative R&B was originally described when talking about neo soul artists such as D'Angelo, Erykah Badu, and Maxwell. As R&B progresses, it was then a term used to describe any artist that was quote unquote deviating from the traditional styles of contemporary R&B. Some of these artists include Frank Ocean, SZA, Party Next Door, and of course TikTok's favorite, Steve Lacy. Now, there really isn't a clear distinctive sound to this style of music, but if I were to describe it in one sentence, it would be R&B music with elements that break the genre barrier. Today, I'm going to break down a beat that covers most of the elements I hear in alternative R&B, and we'll be going over the chord progression, melody, drums, instruments, and arrangement. For this beat, I used a sample from my alternative R&B sample pack. This pack includes 10 handcrafted 100% original samples with stems included. Link in the bio, 15% off using the code WONDER if you want to buy it today. Okay, so this is the chord progression I came up for this beat. I really like using seventh chords for alternative R&B since it kind of brings that melancholic, soulful sound. I like using seventh chords in every genre of music I make, but alternative R&B especially. So what I did for this chord progression, I started off with this G sharp major seventh chord, which is G sharp, C, D sharp, G. And then I went to a C major chord with an F in the bass. Here's what it sounds like without the F in the bass. And with the F. And then I went back to this G sharp major seventh. And then I went to this A sharp minor seventh. And then I basically repeated these four chords, but at the end of the A sharp minor 7, I added a C, which makes it an A sharp minor 9. And I think this variation at the end of this chord progression is important because it keeps the listener engaged and interested. It also adds a little more emotional expression with that ninth being on top. Okay, so melody. I think a big part of alternative R&B and honestly all genres of R&B is the emphasis on emotional expression and storytelling. And a perfect way to help with that is by making sure you have some really strong melodic elements. A great example of that is the song Good Days by SZA. In that song, she keeps introducing new melody ideas that just make you want to shed some G tears. The first melody I made for this song, I started off with this Bound 2 analog type synth. You'll know what I'm talking about. Sounds like this. This is an easy type of melody that you can apply to any chord progression you make because it just follows the notes of the chord. For example, this is a G sharp major 7th. The only note that's not included is the C, but every other note is here. And then for that C sharp major, with G sharp down here, and then it just keeps going. So if you're having trouble making a melodic element for your beats, an easy way to start is just by following the notes of your chords. Very simple. The second melodic element I added to this beat was this whistle lead. Not much to say about this, but it just added some ambience, just keeping it simple. The third melodic element is the bass. And for this bass, I just plugged in the root notes of each chord. And then, like the first synth I showed you, I simply just follow the notes of each chord going up, and here's what it sounds like. Last but not least, I added this guitar sample melody, and I don't have the MIDI for this, but it's a great counter melody to the bass. I also really like the wah effect it has on it, since it gives it that groove bass feeling you hear a lot in soulful music. Here's what it sounds like. Okay, so the drums. Even though a lot of good alternative R&B songs contain no drums, there's also plenty of examples where the drums really make the song and hold the groove together. In this beat, I used some fat sounding drum sounds so it could really punch through and hold the groove of the beat. Here's what it sounds like with just the kick and the snare. Here's what it sounds like with the hi-hats. Also, for the hook of this beat, I used a drum break. Here's what it sounds like with the hi-hats. I think using sample drum breaks are also great for alternative R&B, since they usually have that authentic, soulful sound to it. Okay, so the instruments I used in this beat are the bass guitar, the piano, the mellotron flute, this acoustic guitar, which I made with session guitarist strummed acoustic, the electric guitar, which I talked about earlier, synth bass, analog synth lead, synth pad, and lastly, these acoustic drums. I think the most important instrument in alternative R&B music is the guitar, because of the soulful energy it adds and because of its dynamic range that can go from soft and delicate to loud and powerful. It's just a highly expressive instrument, and I think you should consider it when you're trying to make this type of music. Okay, so arrangement. There really isn't any particular arrangement in alternative R&B, but I found that the most popular ones have a very powerful hook in the song. For this arrangement, it goes intro, verse, pre-hook, hook, verse, pre-hook, hook, outro. Very simple. For the intro, I start off with the analog synth keys accompanied by a synth bass and pad to make it more full, along with that synth whistle. This intro will introduce a core part of the song, which is the chord progression. Right after that, I go into the verse, which has acoustic guitar accompanied by the hi-hats, which really hold the rhythm together. And I really think that synth whistle and this piano really helps build the tension up to the second half of the verse, where the drums drop and the bass comes in, and it sounds really nice with the acoustic guitar. Then the guitar comes in, electric. For the pre-hook, I introduced a new instrument to represent the chord progression, which is the mellotron flute. It kind of softens up the beat to make a nice contrast for the powerful hook you're about to hear. And it sounds like this. And then it goes into the hook. And for the hook, I just added this extra drum pattern that sampled drum break I talked about before to make it more punchier, along with the acoustic guitar, synth bass, and analog synth. And it sounds like this. And then it just repeats the same formula, what am I, Mr. Krabs? So then after that, it just repeats verse, pre-hook, hook again. And then here's what the outro sounds like. It's just this synth pad. So that's it for today, guys. I hope you learned something. And also, if you want easy starters for this style of music, please check out that sample pack. I made it just for this video. Link in the description. I promise you won't be disappointed. Okay, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.